Hey guys, it's Courtney and welcome to day number 2 of the kit week. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Spellbinders card kit. Now Spellbinders has a ton of different subscriptions that you can choose from. This is the card kit. So this card kit is called Love the Moment. And you can see that it is labeled on the side. I have not opened this kit yet. I am opening all of these on camera and seeing everything that's inside for the very first time with you guys. You can see that I'm opening everything now. But before we take a look at all of the contents inside, we are going to go over some of the subscription details. So the monthly card kit is a subscription, and it is a monthly subscription, and the cost of the card kit is $38.50. Now they do have so many different subscriptions that you can choose from, and if you choose multiple subscriptions, you can kind of bulk them together and get a discount. You can cancel at any time, and you can also skip a kit if it's something that you're not interested in or if it's not in your budget for that month. Now, there are some benefits to being a subscriber. All past kits that have not been sold out, you can get your hands on for a discounted rate. There's also a 10% store discount for any member or any subscriber. And also you will receive an annual membership gift. And there's a couple of others too that you may get emails for periodically. So if that is something that you are interested in, after you take a look at what comes in the kit, everything will be linked below if you're interested in subscribing or checking out any of the other subscriptions that they have to offer. Okay, so let's just jump right in and see what comes inside this month's kit. So you can see that the box is nice because you can keep all your contents in there and you can easily close it back up. It does come wrapped in tissue paper, and it has a card in here that lists all the contents within the kit, as well as some examples and some inspiration made with this kit. Now, there are tons and tons and tons of stuff in here. I am blown away by how much stuff they fit in this box. But first, we have some jewels. They're kind of like jewels. And we have kind of like a gold color, pink and red, all different sizes. We also have die cut shapes. And I'm telling you, this is chock full. I can't possibly show you all of the ones that come in here, but I will kind of flip through some of them just so that you can see or get an idea at least of all of the things that come in here. Any kind of card that you can possibly think about making, you have something in here for. There's little labels. There's a lot of flowers, which is my thing. But there's a lot of sentiments in here. There are some different things that you could use in scrapbooks or in photo albums or anything that you're creating, not just necessarily cards. I'm telling you, there are tons of things in here. Some of them do have foil accents. Others are just plain. They even have some zebras in here, which is my favorite animal. So I'm excited about that, but there are tons and tons of stuff here. Next, we have the glitter leaves, and these are die cut as well, and they are glittery. I'm going to just take one out of the package here just to show you how shiny and shimmery they are and the size of them. They're all different sizes, but they're pretty big. They'll take up pretty much your entire card. Next, we have some adhesive tape. This is double-sided adhesive. And we also have the stamp set. So you have some great sentiments here, as well as like a little frame with some flowers around it. It'd be so pretty embossed. Next, we have the stickers, and there are 3 different sheets of stickers here, and they're so pretty. And some of them do have the foil accents. We have some sentiments here, and then larger scripty sentiments, which I love, especially for Valentine's Day. Next, we have the foam squares, the adhesive foam squares, and we have the die set, which these has lots of different pieces that you can kind of piece together as much or as little as you want. We have the little car, we have balloons, we have the inside of the balloons. So if you die cut that heart 4 times, and then the inside has letters to it that spell out love, and the other sentiment word is, one of them is the, and the other one is moment, and that is a scripty word. Next, we have 10 card bases and 10 envelopes, all A2 size cards. And we have the 6x6 paper pad. And this has all different styles to it, which I really like because I struggle with pattern paper sometimes. So I like to have a really good variety. I am going to flip through just so that you can see the different designs here. You can see some of them are just basic shapes. Some of them have that foil accent. You have the basic backgrounds like the marble, and then you have really intricate ones such as the flowers and the butterflies. So you do have a huge variety here, and there is a ton of pattern paper in this paper pad. And finally, we have the cardstock, and we have 8 pieces of cardstock that come in this kit. Now you'll notice that this will be on the bottom of your box so that it stays nice and flat. You don't get those crinkled edges. We have a couple different colors here. We have some black, we have some red and pinks, perfect for Valentine's Day. And on top of the colored cardstock, we have some foil cardstock. We have both silver and gold. So that's a quick look at what comes in the kit. Now we'll move on to making our cards. Okay, so all of these cards are going to be super, super simple. As you can imagine, I'm making 35 cards this week, plus design team stuff and other stuff. So we're going to keep it real simple. So for this first card, I'm using a piece of the pattern paper as well as a piece of the gold cardstock. And I cut them both to A2 size. And then I cut the purple pattern paper kind of at an angle. And I just did this randomly. It doesn't really matter how you cut it. You can make that little gap between the two card stocks as big or as small as you want. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere that pattern paper directly on top of the gold cardstock and then directly onto an A2 size note card. Now, keep in mind that the gold and the silver cardstock is not normal cardstock. It's shiny, it's slippery, and your adhesive may not stick to it the same way. It will still stick to it, but if you're using a wet glue, it may just take an extra couple of seconds to actually adhere. So I took 2 of the die cut pieces there and I glued those together to create my sentiment. And then I'm taking 3 of the glitter die cut leaves and I'm going to kind of make these so that they're kind of sticking out the top of my sentiment. So once I have them in place the way I want them, I'm just kind of lifting them up just a tiny bit in little areas, or just one area actually, and just dabbing a little bit of glue so that way they won't shift around and they're exactly where I want them. Then I can go ahead and add a little bit more adhesive to different areas so that they're not moving around, but they're still in the same place as I had them originally. I am going to take a couple of the foam adhesive squares that come in the kit to pop up my sentiment, and I'm going to go ahead and pop that up directly in that same spot that I had it positioned so that it looks like the leaves are kind of sticking out of my sentiment. And that is it. Super simple for the first one. They're all super simple, but we'll move on to card number 2. Now I'm going to use another piece of the pattern paper. Being I do struggle with pattern paper sometimes, I kind of like to use it in different ways. So for this particular paper, there's a lot of white areas. It's all white and black, and it is beautiful. I am going to cut this down to a little bit smaller than an A2 size card. And I think this was 5 by 3 3/4. So it's about a ½ inch smaller than a A2 size card. And I'm going to color it, because you know me, I like to color. But I'm keeping the coloring very simple, and I didn't leave all the coloring in here because it did take a little bit of time, but I am using my polychromos here, and I'm not doing all that much shading, or worried about my shading, I should say. There's a ton of detail within each one of these flowers and leaves that you don't have to have your shading or your coloring perfect to still have a ton of dimension within these flowers. So I went right in with my darkest color just in those darkest areas, and then I'm using several other pinks to kind of just blend that out so that the tip of the petals are the lightest. I did end up going back in and adding a little bit more shading just so that I had a little bit more dimension, but that's totally up to you. Like I said, being these have so much detail to them, you could honestly probably go in with a solid color and be perfectly fine. In fact, with the leaves, I did. I didn't do any shading with the leaves. I just went in with solid greens, and I just kind of mixed up the greens as I went along. So I went ahead and continued to color all of the flowers. I used a variety of different colors. I had some pinks and some purples and some turquoise colors and yellows in there. And again, I kind of switched up the greens as well so that all of my leaves weren't identical. I did color directly over the little stamen of the flowers just because it's easier that way rather than going around them. So I went back in with a white gel pen just to fill in those little dots of the two flowers with the stamen. And also to kind of break up the background a little bit, I added some random dots with my gel pen just in kind of random areas. And this will kind of give a little added something to your background. So once that was all done, I'm going to go ahead and assemble the card. And in order for my card panel to really pop against my card base, I like to layer it on another piece of cardstock, and in this case, 2 pieces of cardstock. So I have a white piece and a black piece. The white is just a little bit smaller or a little bit larger than my card panel, and the black is just a little bit larger than the white. So I'm going to go ahead and layer these up just so that I have a teeny tiny bit of a white border showing and a teeny tiny bit of a black border showing, and then I can adhere that to my card base, and that way I have a nice white border on the edges as well. To finish off the card, I'm going to go ahead and use one of these sticker sentiments here, and these have a black border, or no, a black background. So in order for this not to blend in with the rest of my card or the rest of my background, I'm going to go ahead and adhere this to a white strip of cardstock that I just have left over sitting on my desk. That way I'll have a nice white border, and this will really pop against that background. I pop that up with some foam tape, and that is it for card number 2. Card number 3, I am going to go ahead and use another one of these stickers, and I absolutely love this one. It has a little frame to it and has a nice quote for friendship. So I'm taking another piece of the pattern paper, and this is one that has the gold foil to it. And when I kind of laid everything out, it was a little bit too plain. It was literally just a sticker on a piece of paper. So in order to dress this up a little bit, I am going to use one of the die cut pieces that is the same type of flower that's in that little frame. And I'm going to cut down a 1/2 inch off the one side of my card panel. And I'm also going to cut a 1-inch strip of the gold cardstock. And then I can adhere everything together, and this is super simple. It came together within just a minute or two. I'm going to go ahead and adhere that pattern paper to my card base all the way off to the right-hand side, and I'm just using my corners to make sure it's completely straight. And then I'll adhere this gold strip on the left-hand side. I find it easier to add my adhesive to the card base itself, and then I can kind of move things around to make sure that it is lined up. Again, be aware that it's not going to dry or adhere as quickly as it does with regular cardstock. I glued down my flower there, and then I stuck down my sticker directly over that just so that that's kind of peeking off to the right-hand corner. And then I finished off with some of these gems that are part of the kit as well. And I am using the gold ones to kind of match everything. And I kind of just scattered those around using different sizes. That is it for card number 3. Moving on to the 4th card, I'm going to be using the die set. So I have everything already cut out, and you can see that that card that comes in your kit comes in handy. It kind of tells you what pieces you need and where they need to go, because there's a ton of little pieces to this particular die set. So I'm not going to show you adhering everything because, like I said, all the instructions and the inspiration card and all of that will be in your kit when you get it. So I prefer to use wet glue for this. You can use any adhesive that works best for you. For the little balloons, there's 2 ways that you can do this. You can cut them as one piece so that you have the opening, I guess you could say, of the letter and then layer that onto a balloon, or you can cut apart or die cut. Let me learn how to speak today. You can die cut the individual letters, which is what I did. And I have this glue sponge that's been sitting in my stash for a very long time, and I have yet to use it. So I figured these are so tiny, I'm going to pull this out and see if I can get this to work. Now, the sponge was completely dry. I thought I was picking up adhesive. I wasn't picking up adhesive. nothing was sticking. So what I found that you have to do is you kind of have to squish the sponge a little bit and get that glue moved to the top of the sponge, and then I had no problem. In fact, it was pretty easy to use. I don't know how long this will last as far as the glue drying out and things like that, but I'll continue to use it and let you guys know before you waste your money on something that may or may not work. So once everything was adhered together, we are going to assemble the card. I'm taking another piece of the pattern paper, cutting this down to just a little bit smaller than an A2 size card and adhering that down to my card base. Then I can adhere all of my little pieces here. So I'm adhering this little piece that goes on top of the card. I don't know what you call it, but it shows on the instruction sheet. So I glued that down to my card panel before I glued down the card. And then I arranged my little balloons the way I wanted them, removed the top two, kind of picked them up just a little bit to adhere them down flat. And then I'll take the foam adhesive squares to pop up the remaining two. Now I'm just taking a black pen and just adding my balloon strings, and I'm just basically just little wavy and curvy lines all the way down to the car. Last, I adhered my sentiment, which is also part of the die set that I cut with the gold cardstock. And instead of using the glue sponge for this one, I am going to go ahead and use my sticker maker. And you just run this through, you just pop it in this little slot here, pull it through the other end. You do want to add some pressure to it before removing the backing and removing the actual die, just to make sure that you're really getting that adhesive to the back of the die. So I adhered this to the top right-hand corner of this card, and this one is all set. Next, we are going to move on to the fifth and final card with the Spellbinders kit. And this time I am going to go ahead and bring out my stamp set. So I have a piece of white cardstock. This is cut to 4.5 by 3 1/4. And I'm taking the large stamp here, and this is not photopolymer. So I was a little bit worried about how it was going to stamp. So I ended up bringing out my Mini Misty just in case, and I am going to go ahead and stamp this out with VersaFine Onyx Black ink. I was pretty surprised. Usually I think are they silicone? I don't know what the clear stamps are, the ones that aren't photopolymer. I don't know what they're made out of, but they typically don't stamp well. This one really did. I really got really great detail first time around. And then I'm going to go ahead and stamp one of the sentiments from that same stamp set with that same ink in black right there in the center of my little frame. Now I'm going to do the same thing as far as layering and letting this pop off the page. I have a piece of the pattern paper cut to an A2 size card, and this burgundy red and black cardstock that I will layer my panel on. So first I layered it onto the black, then I will layer this onto that burgundy red color, and then I'll adhere everything together onto my card base. My pattern paper is exactly the same size as my card base, so I'm not going to have a white border on this one. The border will actually be the pattern itself. Now, the only red that I was seeing here was that teeny tiny bit of that burgundy red cardstock kind of peeking through or peeking behind my panel, which just wasn't enough. So I ended up bringing out a colored pencil because they're still sitting on my desk, and I just filled in 2 of the roses. Obviously, these are so small, so I'm not doing any shading here, but this way it will really bring out that red color that's behind my panel just by adding just a little bit of color to 2 of the roses. I also finished off the card with just a couple more of those gems, and I used obviously the red to kind of bring that out, and I just scattered those around my little frame or around my little sentiment, again using a variety of different sizes. So that is it for card number 5. I will show you a quick look at all 5 of the cards that we created today. And as always, I will leave all of the supplies listed in the description box below, as well as all of the information that you'll need in case you are interested in subscribing to the Spellbinders card kit or any of the other subscriptions that they have to offer. Thank you guys so much for stopping by today, and have a great day. Bye.